Good afternoon, everyone. I want to call to order today's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley? Here. Senator Cannizzaro? Senator Krasner? Here. Senator Steinbeck? Here. Chair Orenshaw?
Present. Madam Secretary, please note that we do have a quorum. Please mark the Majority Leader present when she arrives. A few housekeeping measures. I just ask everyone to silence their electronic devices. If you are going to testify, we do ask that you present a business card to our committee secretary if you have a business card. And if you are going to be handing out any paper copies related to any bills, we ask you hand out 20 copies here. You have them here for the committee. Electronic copies should have been submitted about 24 hours beforehand. In this committee, sometimes we deal with issues that inspire a lot of strong feelings. We still want courtesy and respect towards everyone in the committee. So I have to remind everyone, notwithstanding how we feel on a particular issue, do ask for courtesy and respect. We will take public comment at the end of the hearing. We'll limit that to 2 minutes per speaker. With that, we're very lucky to have Assemblymember Watts here joining us, and thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. I'd like to open the hearing on Assembly Joint Resolution 7.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I am Howard Watts, representing Assembly District 15 in Clark County. It's my pleasure to present Assembly Joint Resolution 7 in its first reprint for your consideration today. This measure would amend the Nevada State Constitution to create an independent commission charged with studying and setting the pay and benefits for state legislators as well as constitutional officers. Currently, that pay is set by statute and in law. That puts legislators in the problematic position of controlling their own compensation. There are also political dynamics that exist between the legislature and constitutional officers. Times are changing, and so are all of these roles, particularly the role of the legislator, but legislative pay has been adjusted only 7 times in the last 80 years. Legislative retirement was last updated in the year 1985. Legislative health care is the same as it was in 1981. There have been multiple attempts to look at these issues. A 1988 Blue Ribbon Commission was formed and recommended changes to legislative pay, retirement, and the establishment of a compensation commission. All of those findings returned to the legislature for action. Members of that commission included Phil Sater, Alan Glover, and Kenny Gwynn. None of the recommendations that were made were ultimately taken up and adopted by the legislature. In 1995, 7 years later, another review committee was put together and recommended changes to legislative pay and retirement. None of those changes were adopted by the legislature. So here is what AJR 7 does and how it's different. It is based on legislation that was introduced by my Republican colleagues in 2015. It passed both houses with bipartisan support, but did not pass a second time in 2017. This would create an independent commission appointed by the governor to study and set the pay and benefits for the legislature as well as for our constitutional officers. That commission would include expertise from the public sector, the nonprofit sector, and the for-profit sectors, as well as labor. It would additionally wall off political interests by ensuring that elected officials, public employees, lobbyists, and their immediate family members cannot serve on that commission. It delegates the decision-making power for pay and benefits away from the legislature to this commission, taking politics out of the process. This commission would have to have public meetings across the state in order to solicit feedback on any of its decisions. This would not require that any of the pay or benefits be increased or decreased. They could go either way, or they could remain the same. It's just ensuring that we have an independent entity that is now tasked with making those decisions. As a constitutional amendment, this would have to be passed by the legislature in 2 consecutive sessions and then go before a vote of the people in order to take effect. If this were enacted, the very first schedule of pay and benefits would be provided in the year 2031. I'll just note quickly that there's a growing movement towards adopting some form of compensation commissions. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 24 states use some form of compensation commission. And that includes Kansas and Colorado, two very different states that recently established commissions. Multiple states considered creating commissions this year, and the state of Virginia actually just recently adopted legislation to establish a pay commission themselves. So with that, out of respect for your time, I would ask, if it's the chair's indulgence, I can either go through the provisions of the resolution itself, or I'm glad to simply stand for questions.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Watts. Thanks for presenting Assembly Joint Resolution 7. Unless there's a desire from members to go through the specifics of the proposed constitutional amendment, I'll just open it up for questions. But members, if you do desire that, let me know. And members, any questions? Senator.
Thank you. I was just curious if you know other states, whether they utilize this way of determining pay, or if it's all back at their own discretion.
Howard Watts for the record. That's a great question. It really varies. So like I said, about half of the states in the country have some form of commission. Those commissions do vary. Some are more of an advisory in nature, so they make recommendations, and then those come back to the legislature for action. Some states have invested kind of a mid-range of power to those commissions, so they can set, but the legislature can override. And then there are other states that fully delegate the authority to make these decisions to the commission, and that model is being proposed in this resolution. But I do want to note that there are other states that do use a model very similar to this.
Any follow-up, Senator Steinbeck? Members, any additional questions for our presenter? Vice Chair Daley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the one committee you mentioned in 1995, which we hung on to, we sunsetted if the bill goes all the way through and gets signed. So that'll be gone. And you're right, the recommendations came out. It was a very thorough report. It covered all judicial officers, state officers, city, et cetera. Crickets, nothing happened. No hearing, no recommendation, no bill after that. So I understand on that. So in this measure, does it look at or provide, and I'm scrolling through and I'm sorry if I missed it, anything about the 60-day limitation that's currently in the Constitution?
Howard Watts for the record. Yes, so in providing full authority to this commission, it does strike that existing language. And so the ultimate goal of this is it also strikes the legislature's authority. So we are delegating all of the authority and then providing maximum flexibility to that commission to make their determinations. And I believe that is, there's some in section 33, so page 4 of the resolution. I think you can find that information on line 27, line 29, etc.
Thank you very much. Members, any additional questions? Okay, I'm not seeing additional questions. Thank you so much for the presentation on the proposed constitutional amendment. With that, I'd like to open it up to support for Assembly Joint Resolution 7. Anyone who'd like to speak in support, either here in Carson City or down at the Las Vegas hearing rooms, then we'll go to the phone lines.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support to Assembly Joint Resolution 7, please press *9 now.
Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed here in Carson City.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber. I think more importantly, I'm here on behalf of myself. This resolution is very, very important. And much like the testimony that I gave yesterday regarding AJR 1, it's time. It's time for us to move this ball forward. This is a very well thought out resolution. It puts into place what the chairman said is very common throughout this country, where people are actually looking to commissions to make these decisions, not necessarily because they don't want you to make it for yourself, but that's the most fair way of assessing and looking at what your compensation should be for the 120 days that you are here. They may look at other compensation levels too, more than a per diem for the thousands of hours that you spend in interim committee hearings and working with constituents and the like. I know this focuses on the 120 days, and that's really, really important. When this was in the other house, I gave a long-winded speech about how I was here in 1991 as staff, and my pay has gone up, but yours has not. It's a disservice. When we talk to good recruits, small business owners, folks that are just good civic servants of our communities in our state, and you tell them what you're going to be compensated, they run. Why? If I can't get my employer to give me the leave of absence, or if I can, I'm making very, very little money while I'm there. The recruitment process is very, very difficult. On top of that, the time that you spend away from your family and your regular job and the like. I think a commission of this sort would be accepted by the people, and much like I said yesterday, let's just get it in their hands so we can have the conversation, educate them about what reality is and why this commission is so important. And I think that the good people of the great state of Nevada would adopt it and vote for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thanks so much for your testimony. Thank you for joining us. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dylan Keith. I'm the Senior Manager of Government Affairs with Southwest Gas. On behalf of Southwest Gas, we really just want to extend how much we appreciate how hard you guys work during session. We know the tireless hours you put in, but beyond that, we know that the work does not stop after sine die. During the interim, we are constantly working with you to try and advance common sense, good legislation and policy. But along with that, we also trust you to have the pulse on your constituents. And many of them go to you, and you are able to reach out to us and let us know how we can be of better service to our customers. For that reason, we are in support, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Good afternoon. Mr. Maradicon, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Paul Maratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of H.R. 7, and we appreciate the efforts that have been done with the bill. In regards to the commission, the 7-member commission composition makes sense, and the charge that's been put in this bill, along with the safeguards in terms of the decrease and increase of the salaries at no more than 15%. We do agree that the salaries should be reviewed independently of the body or from the governor or lieutenant governor. As you know, the Chamber has a long-standing position of limited government, but we do believe this is appropriate, and we look forward to this potential bill going to the voters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anybody else who'd like to speak in support of Assembly Joint Resolution 7? Like to go next, Assemblyman Goldwater or Senator Hardy, whoever would like to go.
I'll yield to the Assemblyman.
Well, I thought I was going to go on seniority, Mr. Chairman, but apparently will. Like this bill does, topple on some old standing traditions to improve as a state. David Goldwater, representing Pinion Public Affairs in my capacity to represent the Nevada Mining Association. The association stands in firm support of this measure. As in 1856, mining was an important part of this state. That's when these codicils were adopted in the Nevada State Constitution. Since then, we've had a few times to amend the Constitution to affect Article 4, Section 33, and those have been for the important things like being able to reimburse for postage stamps. It is a governance issue that we're dealing with here. We should be able to, there's no modern organization that governs their executive or labor compensation in this way. We should modernize the manner in which we deal with these important issues of governance of the legislature. For those reasons, among the reasons previously stated and about to be stated by the handsome Senator Hardy, we stand in support of this.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Goldwater. Senator Hardy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chair. Warren Hardy today, representing Warren Hardy. I can't say it any better or more eloquent than my former colleague and friend David Goldwater did, so I will just say I'm in full support of this bill, it's high time we look at this. It is a governance matter, and it's very, very important. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Think anyone else here in Carson City? Oh, I do. Good afternoon, sir. Please state your name.
Thank you so much, Senator Orenshaw. My name is Andrew Clark. That is spelled C-L-A-R-K-E. I'm here today representing New Day, Nevada. New Day, Nevada is an organization that cares deeply about policies that benefit the material needs of everyday Nevadans. AJR 7 is much needed reform that takes the power out of the legislators' hands to raise their own pay and puts it into a nonpartisan commission's power. At that same time, this opens the door for more everyday Nevadans to run to represent the communities that they know best. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. And I'm not seeing anyone else here in Carson City. Don't see anyone down in the Las Vegas hearing room broadcasting anyone on the phone lines in support of Assembly Joint Resolution 7.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support to Assembly Joint Resolution 7, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller, you're unmuted. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Amber Joyner. Take this off of speaker, I'm sorry. My name is Amber Joyner, A-M-B-E-R-J-O-I-N-E-R. I'm testifying today in support of AJR 7, and I'm here on behalf of myself only, not representing any organizations I'm associated with. As you know, Chair Orenshaw, I served with you and represented Assembly District 24 for 2 terms between 2014 and 2018. When I decided not to run for a 3rd term, I was very public about one of the main reasons, and that was because it was just financially unsustainable to continue to serve. I support AJR 7 because the salary and health insurance compensation for legislators needs to be examined by a fair and independent entity. Most people don't realize that we legislators are not provided subsidized health insurance like state employees. While I was a legislator, I could not legally work in the full-time state jobs that had previously covered my health insurance and had to pay an average of $1,200 per month for my health insurance for my family. When I added up all of my salary and per diem, everything I was paid as a legislator, it was not even enough to cover my health insurance premiums during my term. I was actually losing more than $2,000 per year being a legislator just to cover the cost of my health insurance premiums. This commission on AJR 7 could also examine the very antiquated model of only compensating legislators for 60 days for half of the legislative session every 2 years. As I'm sure you all experience, technology such as email and cell phones have increased the public's interaction with their legislators to year-round, which is fantastic for representation, but it's increased the workload to often more than full-time hours for legislators who want to do a good job and be responsive. Also, much of the research and preparation for legislation takes place during the 20-month interim, which is completely unpaid. During the interim, I served on as many as 8 public committees in my role as a legislator. I often traveled to Las Vegas regularly for those typically all-day meetings, and that meant that I just could not find a full-time job with health insurance that was not either a conflict of interest or a conflict of schedule. If we truly want a citizen legislature where people from all walks of life can serve, the current compensation model just does not work. Very few people can go unpaid for 22 months at a time without health insurance. Additionally, city and county elected representatives do often have salaries and health insurance at a reasonable level, which makes the legislature a stepping stone to local offices, which of course is just completely backwards. In my role currently, I meet young people all the time who want to serve in public office and run for office, but the realities of the financial hardships as a legislator often discourage them from pursuing this particular level of service. So for all of those reasons, I encourage you to please pass AJR 7 so we can have an independent commission look at these issues and modernize our public official compensation system. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and committee members. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora, and that is spelled P-E-R-S-A-U-D-Z-A-M-O-R-A. I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Voices, here to testify in strong support of AJR 7 on behalf of my organization and the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. We believe that there is a reasonable conflict of interest in having our elected officials be responsible for choosing their own salaries, which likely explains why your pay has barely been increased since 1988. The creation of this commission will not only avoid this undeniable conflict of interest, but will also guarantee that these decisions are left to a diverse board of institutional knowledge, with special priority given to public input and overall transparency. We'd like to thank the sponsors of this bill for spearheading this necessary measure, and we urge your support on AJR 7. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate Assemblymember Joyner's comments. Everything she said in her testimony is exactly why this bill needs to pass. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Medina Yusufzai, spelled MEDINAHYUSUFZAI, and with One API in Nevada as a South Asian target organizer. I'm here in strong support of AJR 7. Nevada citizen legislator compensation structure hasn't kept pace with the realities of public service in our state. This can create a barrier for everyday Nevadans who want to serve but simply cannot afford to. Public service comes with significant financial trade-offs, ones that can discourage capable, committed people from stepping up to lead. This resolution offers a balanced solution by moving the responsibility of setting compensation to a diverse commission. It creates a system that is more transparent, rooted in public trust, and aligned with the demands of modern governance. AJR 7 is about building a foundation that allows more Nevadans to follow in those footsteps without unnecessary barriers. Creating a system that reflects today's cost of living and demands of public office helps ensure broader, more equitable access to civic leadership. Thank you so much for your time.
Once again, if you would like to testify in support to Assembly Joint Resolution 7, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now move to opposition. Anyone who's opposed to AJR 7 who wishes to be heard, either in Carson City or in the Las Vegas hearing room. Not seeing anyone come forward. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to be heard in opposition to the proposed constitutional amendment?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition to Assembly Joint Resolution 7, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams, OSCAR-WILLIAMS. I'm opposed to this just because it seems that it concentrates power into an appointed body that is handpicked by the governor. It concentrates power in the executive branch. This is really not the way it was designed to be. I'd be surprised if legislators would want, or legislators would want this to go forward. That's my objection. Thank you very much.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to now go to neutral. Anyone who's neutral on the measure and wishes to be heard in Carson City or down in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone come forward. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who's neutral to the measure?
Chair, we have no additional callers on the line at this time.
Okay, thank you. I know our sponsor had to run to some other committees, being that it's deadline day, so I don't think there's any closing comments to be made with that. I will close the hearing on Assembly Joint Resolution 7. And members, we are going to have a work session, but we are going to be at ease for just a little bit before we get to our work session. So members, if you need to run to the restroom, feel free, but we're going to be at ease for just a little bit. That would be great if you don't mind. Thank you. I'll text. I'll text either way, or I can text. Members, we will come back to order. Committee, we will now begin the work session. Since this is a work session, I'll remind everyone, the work session is the time for the committee to act on bills. We will not be taking further testimony or having a second hearing on the bill. However, as chair, I may at times ask one of the interested parties to come forward to answer a question or clarify an issue. I'd like to now ask our committee policy analyst, Pepper Sturm, to walk us through the work session document. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pepper Sturm, Committee Policy Analyst with LCB Research. As a reminder, as nonpartisan staff, I cannot advocate for or against any measure. I'm just here to walk you through. You have copies of the work session document in front of you with the tabs, and there are copies for the public in attendance today and electronic versions on the committee's meeting website. I may skip through some of the bill's summary portion, but for the bills with amendments, I may read out the detail. Since the amendments being proposed are conceptual, please be aware that the official amendment will likely modify suggested language, but will reflect the intended change. First bill before us today is Assembly Bill 79, which we heard on May 13th. And 79 makes a number of changes to campaign finance, clarifies that campaign contribution limits apply regardless of the number of candidates for office at a primary general, establishes a contribution limit of $5,000 for special elections that are not a recall, authorizes candidates for public officers to use campaign contributions to pay for any ordinary or necessary expense, requires candidates to file a notice of intent to file candidacy with the Secretary of State, requires candidates, public officers, and former public officers to notify the Secretary of State when all unspent campaign contributions have been disposed of, sets forth certain powers and duties of the Secretary of State relating to campaign finance investigations or proceedings, and authorizes the Secretary of State for good cause to reduce certain fines and penalties. Following amendments were proposed for this measure. The Secretary of State submitted a proposed conceptual amendment that's on the following page that would revise the definition of committees for political action and the applicability of certain requirements relating to such committees. And Senator Daley has proposed the following changes to the bill as well: removing the ending fund balance notification requirement and form, clarify the notice of intent to file is only mandatory for candidates who are not currently in elected office. Elected officials may still file if they choose to, if they need that paperwork for their banks. Respondents have 15 days to respond to certain complaints or requests, and if they do not respond, the Secretary of State can bring action to a hearing officer. And if the Secretary of State is subpoenaing records as part of an investigation, the respondent must be notified by certified mail at least 7 days prior to the issuance of the subpoena. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. I would accept a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 79 with the two amendments listed in the work session document.
Motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 79.
A motion from Vice Chair Daley, a second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion, members? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that Assembly Bill 79, the motion to amend and do pass, has passed by a 3-2 margin. Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck are nays, and I'll take the floor statement on that one. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. Next bill is Assembly Bill 148. That Assemblyman that we heard on May 6th revises the deadline for distributing mail ballots to active registered voters not later than 20 days before the election to instead on the 5th, after the 5th Monday before the election, but not later than the 4th Monday before the election. The bill also requires city and county clerks to distribute sample ballots before the applicable deadline for distributing mail ballots. Assemblyman Hafen has submitted a proposed conceptual amendment that you'll see on the following page that amends Section 5, Subsection 5 of Section 1 to allow the distribution of a mail ballot earlier
within the time period specified in the bill if the voter has submitted a request to receive the ballot earlier. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. And Member Hafen, thank you for joining us. I know you requested just to walk us through the conceptual amendment, so we'll allow you to briefly come and just walk us through.
I will be very brief. I greatly appreciate, and Gregory Hafen for the record. I want to thank the chair for postponing this. I know it was discussed to be yesterday. However, yesterday, about 10 minutes before the hearing, the Secretary of State's and the clerks notified us that that this was very crucial to add this conceptual amendment because we need the ability for individuals that may be traveling to request the mail ballot earlier. You also have situations where individuals are victims of domestic violence or in witness protection. They're called CAPS voters, and their confidential address, and so they really need this information to be able to get to them a little bit earlier. And so we want to give the Secretary of State's office clarification, and I want to thank the Secretary of State's office and the Clerks Association for bringing this to our attention. I understand it was last minute, so I just want to say with great appreciation to you, Chair, for postponing this one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Hafen. Members, any questions? I see Vice Chair Daley, and if any other members have questions, let me know. Vice Chair Daley.
Just real quick, and not opposed to the amendment, and maybe the Secretary of State will have to answer on this. Does the Secretary of State believe they have authority to flesh this out a little bit more by regulation on you can't ask for it a year in advance, some of that kind of stuff? There's got to be some time frame and types of accommodations. And do you think you have authority by regulation to put a little guardrails on it so people understand? Submit the request by email, whatever it might be. How do they have to do it?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Mark Washington, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections. For the record, through you, Chair.
Please go direct.
Yes, bottom line, NRS 293-247 does give the Secretary of State authorization to create regulations that would absolutely encompass the details required to enact this.
And just wanted to make sure, because normally a lot of times we'll tell you you got to do it, and I just wanted to make sure the authority was there, and so that you can, hopefully not a form. You can just let them do it by email or something. You know how I feel about forms.
And Mr. Chair, if it helps, that is the intent of the amendment, to give the authority to the Secretary of State's office to bring forth regulations to set those timeframes and other manners in which may be required, such as that the request has to be in writing.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary of State Washington. Thank you, Assemblymember Hafen. Members, any additional questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for the information. And I would accept an amend and do pass motion on Assembly Bill 148 with the amendment in the work session document.
Motion to amend and do pass.
A motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? I think I have a second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion, members? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the amended do pass motion on Assembly Bill 148 did pass unanimously, and I will assign the floor statement to Senator Krasner. That's okay? Thank you. And Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last bill on our Pepper Sturm Research Division, last bill on our work session document here is Assembly Bill 262. That bill was heard on April 24th. Assembly Bill 262 authorizes an election board officer or trainee, voting board officer, or counting board officer to choose to work as a volunteer without receiving compensation. The bill also authorizes a person who has been convicted of a felony involving theft or fraud to be employed by a voter registration agency or appointed as a field registrar, and there were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. I would accept a do pass motion on Assembly Bill 262.
Motion to do pass.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? A second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion, members?
I have some.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that there has been a lot of good work done by the members on this committee. I have some questions about this particular bill. mostly with the folks who have convictions for theft or for fraud. And so I'm hopeful I can maybe get some questions answered on that. So I will vote to get it out of committee today, but I'm going to reserve my right on this one, just because I have some questions on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader. Any additional comments, members? All those in favor, the do pass motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the do pass motion on Assembly Bill 262 did pass by a 3-2 margin. Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck are noes, and the Majority Leader is a yes with reserving her right to possibly change on the floor. And I know that we did not in our work session document have AJR 1 and AJR 7. However,
Floor assignment?
oh, yes, floor assignment for AB 262. Thank you, Mr. Sturm. I'll take that floor assignment on 262. However, we did recently hear AJR 1. We heard that yesterday, and we heard AJR 7 today. As to Assembly Joint Resolution 1, that was presented yesterday by Assembly Member Nathan Anderson. I would be looking for a motion to move this out of committee with no recommendation.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to move this out of committee with no recommendation from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? I have a second from Senator Steinbeck. Any discussion on the motion, members? Not seeing anyone raise their hand or ask to be recognized. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please note that the motion to move AJR 1 out of committee with no recommendation has passed by a 4-1 margin. Senator Krasner is a nay, and I'll take the floor statement on that one. And, the next bill, Assembly Joint Resolution 7, we heard that today presented by Assembly Member Watts, and I would like to move that out of committee with a do pass motion, if there's a do pass motion.
Motion to do pass AJR 7.
Thank you, Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? I have a second from Senator Steinbeck. Members, any discussion on the motion? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate, again, the committee's work on this one. However, I do not believe that legislators should be voting on measures to potentially raise their own pay, and believe this could have been brought with a petition to the voters, and so I will be a no today.
Thank you. Any additional comments, members? Senator Krasner.
I'll be voting yes to get it out of committee. However, I reserve my right to change my vote prior to floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Krasner. Any additional comments, members? Not seeing any additional comments. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Madam Secretary, please note that the do pass motion on AJR 7 passed by a 4-1 margin. The Majority Leader is a no, and Senator Krasner is a yes, reserving her right. And I will assign that floor statement to Vice Chair Daley. With that, the last item on our agenda is public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically, can also submit public comment in writing. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on our committee's agenda. Anyone who wishes to make public comment, we're allotting 2 minutes per person to make public comment. I'd like to start here in Carson City. Anyone who wishes to make public comment? I'm not seeing anyone come forward. I don't see anyone in the Las Vegas hearing room broadcasting. Anyone on the phone lines who wishes to make public comment?
Thank you, Chair. To provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for public comment at this time.
Thank you very much, broadcasting. With that, we are in recess.